It's the second Sunday of Christmas, and we get our choice of three different Gospels for this Sunday. Two of them make a lot of sense. One is the story of the Magi coming from the east and ultimately finding Jesus. The other one is the events that follow after the wise men had left. The Holy Family goes into exile, and the story of how they eventually settle in Nazareth. But the third one is very different. Jesus isn't even an infant anymore. Yes, it's Luke's story of Jesus at 12. And, I've been thinking about this. Does it make sense here in the Christmas narratives? And here's why I think it might. It is a story that ultimately revolves around Jesus coming into an understanding about who he is and what he's being called to and what hasn't quite happened yet. The story goes is that Jesus and his parents have gone to Jerusalem along with many others from the town of Nazareth, and they are there, and then they all are ready to go home together, which they do in a large gathering of people traveling together, and Jesus doesn't go with them. Now, this seems crazy to us, but it's a plausible story in that if the whole town, hundreds of people are gathering and traveling together, you can imagine the parents assuming that he's running around with someone. Hey, have you seen Jesus? Oh yeah, I saw him with running over with John and Sarah the other, over there. And but by the time they come to end their day's journey, it becomes terrifyingly clear to Mary and Joseph that Jesus isn't among them. So they go back to the city and they search for Jesus for 3 days, which is Luke's parallel story to the resurrection, and the 3 days in the tomb, which for Mary and Joseph, I'm sure it felt like their hearts were in a tomb as they couldn't find their 12-year-old son. And perhaps it was only in desperation for themselves that they finally went to the great temple, maybe to pray, maybe to ask guidance, maybe to find some sort of respite before they continue their search. And there they find Jesus. And they're furious and relieved and furious when they see him. And the text says that Mary says, "Child, why have you treated us like this? Look, your father and I have been searching for you in great anxiety." Now, if you imagine Jesus' point of view here, he is a 12-year-old, which is on the cusp of adulthood in his society, but not quite, who is having the time of his life arguing with scholars and elders over the scriptures. And he probably lost track of time, at least as the story goes, and probably at some point says, oh my gosh, I was supposed to be somewhere. For all we know, he went to the rendezvous point and didn't find anyone, so he says, well, I might as well go back to the temple because it's probably safest here. And he continues about himself and maybe even forgets again that his mother and father don't know where he is until he sees them and the look on their face. And the text says that Jesus says to them, "Why were you searching for me? Did you not know that I must be in my Father's house?" Understand that this preteen Jesus has the gall to say to his parents who have been frantic with anxiety, "Why are you worried? Don't you trust me? I was here at the temple. I was with God doing what I'm supposed to do, as any good, faithful Jew would be." Oh man, Jesus was so grounded. We're told that Mary treasured all of this in her heart. After all, she is the only one of these three who has been told by the angel Gabriel of what the trajectory ultimately is. Jesus is Messiah. Jesus as the chosen one. Jesus, the Son of God. Jesus is just coming into some understanding of the trajectory of his life. This is a Christmas story because it ultimately plays with our imagination about what it means for God to be among us, what it means to be called by God, what it means to be faithful to both our relationship with others and to address that unrelenting voice of faithfulness, of direction, of hope that Jesus felt and ultimately propels himself into his adult ministry. The text concludes, Jesus increased in wisdom and in years and in divine and human favor. Thanks be to God.